Jack Morris stood at the observation deck of Boundary Station Alpha, his eyes fixed on the stars beyond the reinforced glass. 3 years had passed since humanity withdrew from the Galactic Council. 3 years of rebuilding, strengthening, and preparing. The silence of space matched the quiet determination that had settled over human colonies. Jack's communication device beeped. "Ambassador Morris, the Defense Council is waiting," said a voice. He smiled slightly. The title of ambassador felt strange now. Once, he had been humanity's most passionate advocate for cooperation with alien species. Now he coordinated defense strategies for human space. "On my way," he replied, turning from the view. The meeting room buzzed with activity as officers reviewed data streams and security reports. Jack nodded to General Claire Bennett, who stood at the head of the table. "The reports from our border sensors are troubling," Claire said as Jack took his seat. "Unusual movement all along the boundary." The boundary, a network of sensor arrays, defense platforms, and patrol routes marking the edge of human space, had become the new frontier between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. "Show me," Jack said. A holographic display lit up, showing dozens of vessel movements near human territory. Most stayed just outside detection range, but their patterns suggested organized surveillance. "They're testing our responses," said Lieutenant Olivia Grant, her finger tracing one cluster of ships. "This group has approached the boundary 6 times in 2 weeks, each time backing off when our patrols respond." Jack studied the data. "And these readings from Sector 7. "Resource ships," Claire answered. "The Vega Trading Alliance reports the Council worlds are facing severe shortages. Apparently, replacing human supply chains has been more difficult than they anticipated." A communications officer interrupted. "Sir, we're receiving an emergency transmission from the U.S. Defiant. Captain Miller reports they've intercepted an unidentified vessel attempting to cross into human space." Jack straightened. "Put it through." Captain Frank Miller's face appeared on screen. The bridge of the Defiant behind him showed signs of recent alert status. "Ambassador, we've stopped a small transport trying to slip through near Proxima. They're not responding to hails, but our scans show multiple life forms aboard." "Pirates?" Jack asked. "Negative. The ship design is Council registry, specifically a diplomatic courier, but it's running without identification and using outdated security codes." Jack exchanged glances with Claire. "Survivors or spies?" "Unknown. Request permission to board and investigate." "Granted," Jack said, "but full security protocols. We can't afford to be careless." As the transmission ended, another officer approached with a data tablet. "Sir, you should see this. Our intelligence networks report the Council has called an emergency session." Jack took the tablet, scanning the information. "Council Representative Jack's tour has requested all member species attend. Topic listed as the human problem." Claire frowned. 3 years of silence, and now this. What's changed? "This report from our former allies," Jack said, pointing to another file. "Pirate attacks on trade routes have increased 300% since we withdrew. The Council's unified defense fleet is stretched thin without human ships." Olivia spoke up from her station. "They're realizing how much they depended on us." "And they're desperate," Jack added. "Desperate enough to risk approaching the boundary, despite our warnings." The room fell quiet as everyone considered the implications. For 3 years, humanity had focused inward, strengthening defenses, developing technologies independently, rebuilding what had been sacrificed during their time with the Council. Jack's communication device beeped again. "Ambassador, Captain Miller reports they've begun boarding operations. The unidentified vessel appears to be carrying refugees." "Refugees?" Claire asked sharply. "From where?" "Multiple species," came the reply. "All from Council worlds." Jack looked back at the star map, where dots of light represented the civilization that had once dismissed humanity as unworthy partners. Now those same worlds were sending their people to human space. Tell Captain Miller to proceed with caution, Jack said, but treat them as refugees until proven otherwise. I want to know exactly what's happening out there that's making Council citizens flee to us for protection. The game had changed. The question was whether it was an opportunity or a trap. The Grand Council chamber on Centauri Prime had never felt so tense. Representative Jack's tour stood at the center platform, his four arms gesturing at the holographic displays showing trade route collapses and resource shortages. 3 years, Jacques Tour's voice echoed through the chamber. 3 years since the humans withdrew, and our situation worsens by the day. Representatives from 17 species shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The Vorchan delegate, once proud and dismissive of human contributions, now looked tired and worn. I propose we send a diplomatic mission to human space, Jacques Tour continued. We must re-establish contact and trade relations. Shouts erupted from multiple sections. The Brull representative rose on his spindly legs. The humans made their choice. They abandoned this council when we needed unity most. After we spent decades dismissing their concerns, Jacques Tour countered. After we limited their expansion, taxed their colonies unfairly, and ignored their warnings about pirate buildup in the outer sectors. The Vorchan delegate, General Kraz, spoke next. His once mighty empire had suffered worst of all without human trade. My people face starvation for the first time in 8 generations. Our shipyards sit empty without human engineers. Pride is a luxury we can no longer afford. The vote was close but passed. A diplomatic mission would be sent. Lisa Reeves had retired to a small farm on New Earth after 30 years in diplomatic service. The garden behind her house offered peace she had never found during her council assignments. She was pruning tomato plants when the government shuttle landed in her yard. She wasn't surprised. She had been expecting this visit since news of the council's troubles began reaching human space. Ambassador Reeves, said the young aide who stepped from the shuttle. Secretary Walsh requests your presence in Washington. Lisa wiped soil from her hands. I'm retired. The situation is urgent, ma'am. It concerns the council. Hours later, Lisa sat across from Secretary of Defense Diane Walsh in a secure room deep within the Defense Ministry. We need you to mediate talks, Walsh said bluntly. The council has requested a meeting. Lisa raised an eyebrow. After 3 years of silence. They're desperate. Our intelligence suggests several council worlds face economic collapse. The Vorchan Empire might not survive another year without our technology and resources. And you want me to help them? Lisa asked. After everything they did. Walsh slid a data pad across the table. I want you to protect human interests while we figure out what they really want. You know them better than anyone. Lisa studied the reports. Food shortages, energy crisis, rising civil unrest. They're falling apart without us. Yes, Walsh confirmed, but there's more. Admiral Rogers has implemented Operation Guardian. He believes this could be a prelude to conflict rather than reconciliation. Meanwhile, aboard the U.S. Defiant, Captain Frank Miller faced 30 frightened aliens in his cargo bay. The refugees huddled together, their belongings packed in small containers. They had risked everything to cross the boundary. Why did you come here? He asked through a translator. You knew the risks. A blue-skinned Methuri female stepped forward. Because humans build things that last. Because your worlds still have food and medicine. She held out a small child with trembling hands. Because we have nowhere else to go. Frank studied them carefully. His security team remained alert, weapons ready. Sir, his communications officer called from the doorway. We have orders to bring the refugees to Boundary Station Alpha. Ambassador Morris wants to interview them personally. Frank nodded. Tell the ambassador we'll arrive in 6 hours. He turned back to the Methuri woman. You'll be treated fairly, but understand this. If we discover any deception, any threat to human space, you'll wish you'd taken your chances with the council. The woman nodded solemnly. We expected nothing less. That's why we came to humans. You are harsh, but you are honest. As Frank left the cargo bay, His tactical officer approached with new sensor readings. "Sir, we're detecting more ships approaching the boundary. Lots more." Frank looked at the data and frowned. "Alert Admiral Rogers. Tell him the trickle of refugees might soon become a flood." The game of intergalactic politics was shifting again, and humanity now held all the cards. Proxima Station hung in space like a forgotten relic. Once the busiest trading hub between humans and Council species, it had been abandoned when relations collapsed 3 years ago. Now its dark corridors and empty docking bays would serve as neutral ground for talks that neither side fully trusted. Lisa Reeves watched from the window of her shuttle as they approached. The station's lights had been reactivated, but only in the central section where the meetings would take place. "Nervous?" asked the pilot. "Cautious," Lisa replied. "I spent 15 years trying to make the Council see humans as equals. Now they come begging for help." The shuttle docked smoothly. Lisa stepped into the station and was greeted by a security team led by Commander Alan Scott. His uniform lacked insignia, but Lisa recognized the stance of a Black Ops officer. "Ambassador," he said with a slight nod, "we've secured the meeting areas. My team will be monitoring from hidden positions." "The Council won't like that," Lisa said. "The Council isn't in a position to object," Alan replied coldly. Secretary Walsh was clear. "Trust, but verify." Lisa followed Alan through the station to the conference room. The human delegation had arrived first, including Noah Carter, Earth's leading engineer for alien tech integration. "The station systems are running at 60%, Noah reported as Lisa entered. "I've been examining the tech the Council left behind. It's fascinating." "What have you found?" Lisa asked. Noah displayed holographic schematics. "Their systems have degraded significantly. Without human maintenance protocols, they've had to revert to older technology. They've actually gone backward in the last 3 years." Before Lisa could respond, the station's communication system announced the arrival of the Council ships. The first diplomatic contact in 3 years was about to begin. Jack Morris joined Lisa at the main airlock. They stood together as the doors opened to reveal Representative Jack's tour, leading a group of 7 aliens from different Council species. Ambassador Reeves, Ambassador Morris, Jack's tour greeted them formally. "The Council extends its gratitude for this opportunity to restore dialogue." "This is not a restoration," Jack said firmly. "This is a new beginning with new terms." They led the Council delegation to the conference room. As they walked, Lisa noticed how the aliens studied everything around them: the functioning lights, the clean air systems, the well-maintained corridors. Their own territories must be in worse shape than intelligence had suggested. Just as they reached the conference room, a second announcement came over the system. Another ship was docking. "We expected only one vessel," Jack said sharply. Jack's tour's face showed concern. The Vorchan delegation insisted on their own ship. They no longer trust Central Council security. Jack signaled to Commander Scott, who disappeared with 2 officers to monitor the new arrival. Minutes later, General Kraz of the Vorchan Empire strode into the conference room, flanked by his own guards. "The Vorchan Empire greets humanity independently," he announced, breaking centuries of Council protocol. The first session began with tension thick in the air. Each side presented their opening positions. The Council wanted access to human technology, trading rights, and military protection against the growing pirate threat. In return, they offered raw materials and the restoration of human colonies previously restricted by Council law. "Not enough," Lisa stated after their proposal. "Humanity will not provide military protection or advanced technology without significant guarantees." Jack's tour leaned forward. "Without human assistance, multiple Council worlds will face societal collapse within months. Perhaps you should have considered that before restricting human expansion and exploiting our resources," Jack replied. The day ended in a tense standoff, with both sides retreating to their respective sections of the station. As Lisa reviewed the day's recordings in her private quarters, Noah Carter rushed in with a data pad. "Ambassador, you need to see this," he said urgently. Our long-range sensors have detected multiple Council ships approaching the boundary, far more than the diplomatic escort they declared. Lisa's expression hardened. So they came to talk with one hand while positioning forces with the other. Contact Secretary Walsh immediately. The real game was just beginning. Science Officer Kelly Mitchell worked through the night, analyzing the data from the long-range sensors. The display in the command center of Proxima Station showed dozens of Council ships moving near the boundary. Their pattern was too organized to be random. They're positioning themselves at key jump points, Kelly explained to Jack and Lisa. If these were military vessels, I'd call it a blockade formation. Lisa studied the display with narrowed eyes, or an invasion preparation. We need answers, Jack said. He turned to Commander Scott. I want you at the next meeting. Stay hidden, but ready. The second day of talks began with Lisa directly confronting Jack's tour about the ships. Our sensors detect a fleet approaching human space, she said. Care to explain before we end these talks? Jack's tour's 4 arms moved in patterns of distress. I was not informed of any fleet movements. This is not part of our diplomatic mission. General Kraz of the Vorchan Empire made a harsh sound. Because it is not a diplomatic mission. The Council has been compromised. All eyes turned to the Vorchan general. Explain, Jack demanded. A faction called Purity Path has gained influence within the Council. They believe the solution to our problems is not cooperation with humans, but taking what you have by force. Kraz stood taller. The Vorchan Empire may be desperate, but we have not forgotten honor. This is why we came separately. Jack's tour looked stunned. These are serious accusations. I have heard whispers of this group, but... An urgent call interrupted them. Ambassador Reeves, Captain Miller needs to speak with you immediately. Frank Miller's face appeared on the communication screen. Behind him, the bridge of the U.S. Defiant showed signs of high alert. Ambassador, we've completed our interviews with the refugees, Frank reported. One of them isn't actually a refugee. Dr. Tarn is the Council's leading quantum physicist. A blue-skinned alien moved into view beside Frank. I requested Asylum because I have critical information. The Council's technology is failing without human assistance. Systems we took from you but never fully understood are breaking down. How bad is it? Lisa asked. Critical, Dr. Tarn replied. The gravity generators on 3 major worlds are showing signs of collapse. Without human engineers, millions could die. Noah Carter joined the conversation. That explains the degradation I found in their abandoned tech. Dr. Tarn nodded. The Purity Path faction sees this as proof of human sabotage rather than their own ignorance. They advocate taking human worlds by force to capture your engineers and scientists. Jack exchanged grim looks with Lisa. Send all this information to Admiral Rogers. Already done, Frank replied. The 5th Fleet is moving into position beyond their sensor range. Just as the transmission ended, alarms blared throughout the station. Kelly's voice came over the system. Multiple impacts along the outer hull. We're under attack. Commander Scott burst into the room, weapon drawn. We need to move everyone to secure areas. On the main display, they watched as 3 small ships fired on Proxima Station. They weren't Council military vessels, but carried weapons that should not have been on civilian craft. Pirates, Jack's tour said in shock. But they're using Council security codes to approach. Not pirates, General Kraz growled. Purity Path mercenaries. They will stop these talks at any cost. The station shuddered from another impact. Lights flickered. Jack activated the emergency channel. All personnel, battle stations. This is not a drill. He turned to the Council representatives. We'll protect you, but from now on, you follow our orders. Lisa watched as human security teams moved with practiced efficiency while the Council representatives looked lost and frightened. How quickly the balance of power had shifted. Noah Carter appeared at the doorway. The station's shields are failing. We need Dr. Tarn. If these attacks continue, we'll lose life support in 3 hours. Another explosion rocked the station, and the real fight for survival began. The emergency lights bathed the station's core in a red glow. Noah Carter and Dr. Tarn worked frantically at the main engineering console while explosions echoed through the hull. "The shield generators need a complete restart," Noah said, fingers flying across the controls. Dr. Tarn nodded, his blue skin pale with stress. "I can redirect power from the unused sections, but we need to balance the load or we'll overload the entire system." As they worked, Dr. Tarn spoke quietly. "There is something I must tell you. The Council, they deliberately sabotage early human colonies." Noah's hands paused for just a moment. "What?" 20 years ago, when humans first began expanding, the Council feared your speed, your adaptability. They introduced subtle flaws into the terraforming equipment they sold you. The new Arizona colony collapse wasn't an accident." Noah stared at the alien scientist, shock giving way to cold anger. 6,000 people died. "I know. I only discovered the truth recently when researching why our technology was failing." Dr. Tarn looked up, his large eyes full of shame. The Council feared humans would surpass them. They were right to be afraid. In the command center, Lisa watched as Jack enabled the station's broadcast system. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Making sure everyone in human space knows what's happening," Jack replied grimly. "If these talks fail, if we don't make it, our people need to know the truth." The broadcast went live, transmitting throughout human territory. Every colony, ship, and outpost could now watch the negotiations and the attack unfold. On the screens, they could see the U.S. Defiant engaging the attacking vessels. Captain Frank Miller's ship moved with precision, disabling 2 enemy craft with targeted strikes. "The Defiant can't hold them all off," Commander Scott reported. "We need to evacuate." "Evacuation pods are in Sector 7, Lisa said. "But we need to move through 2 damaged sections to reach them." Jack's tour stepped forward. "My people can withstand vacuum exposure better than humans. Let us help clear the path." Jack hesitated, then nodded. "Commander Scott, take a team with Jack's tour. Get everyone to the evacuation area." As they prepared to move, a massive explosion rocked the station. The blast doors to the command center slammed shut, separating Lisa and Jack from the others. "We're cut off," Lisa said, checking the system. "Emergency protocols have sealed this section." Jack tried to override the lockdown, but the controls were unresponsive. "We need to find another way out." Commander Scott led the Council representatives and the remaining human staff through the damaged corridors. Emergency force fields flickered, barely containing the vacuum in sections where the hull had been breached. "Stay close," he ordered as they approached a particularly damaged area. Suddenly, a group of armed figures appeared ahead, wearing unmarked combat suits. "Purity Path agents," General Kraz growled, reaching for a concealed weapon. The attackers opened fire. Scott and his team took cover, returning fire while protecting the civilians. "We can't get through," Scott shouted into his comm. "We need backup." To everyone's surprise, General Kraz and his Vorchan guards moved forward, using their larger bodies to shield the others. "Go," Kraz ordered. "We will hold them." Outside the station, the battle intensified. The U.S. Defiant was outnumbered 3-1 when suddenly, new signatures appeared on their sensors. "Captain," the tactical officer reported, "we have ships dropping out of hyperspace. They're Vorchan vessels." Frank watched in amazement as Vorchan warships moved to defend Proxima Station, firing on the Purity Path attackers. His communication officer turned with wide eyes. "Sir, we're receiving a priority message from Admiral Rogers. The Fifth Fleet has engaged hostile forces near the boundary. We are now at war." In the engineering section, Noah and Dr. Tarn finally stabilized the shields as the station shuddered from another hit. "We've stopped the cascade failure," Noah said, "but life support is still critical." Dr. Tarn looked at the human engineer with newfound respect. "In 3 hours, you solved a problem our best minds couldn't fix in months. Now I understand why the Council feared your kind. Noah's expression hardened. They should have worked with us instead. He checked his weapon. Now let's find the ambassadors and get off this station before it's too late. The battle outside Proxima Station lit up space like a deadly light show. Human and Vorchan ships fought side by side against the Purity Path vessels. The U.S. Defiant moved with precision, its weapons finding targets with deadly accuracy. Captain Frank Miller watched the unexpected alliance with mixed feelings. Keep our shield coverage extended to the Vorchan cruiser, he ordered. They took heavy damage protecting the station's north quadrant. His tactical officer looked surprised. Sir, they're still technically Council forces. Today they're allies, Frank said firmly. And we protect our allies. The Vorchan captain's face appeared on the communication screen. His gray, ridge-covered face showed surprise at the human assistance. We are grateful, Captain Miller. Save it for after we survive, Frank replied. Focus fire on the lead enemy vessel. We need to open an escape corridor for the station evacuees. Inside the station, Lisa and Jack crawled through a maintenance tunnel, trying to reach the others. The narrow passage was hot and filled with smoke from damaged systems. You know, Lisa said between coughs, when I agreed to come out of retirement, I didn't expect to be crawling through ducts. Jack managed a short laugh. Just like the old days on Europa Station. They reached a junction, and Jack checked the station schematics on his portable device. 2 more sections, and we should reach the evacuation area. A rumble shook the tunnel, and part of the ceiling collapsed behind them. If the station holds together that long, Lisa added. In the main corridor, Commander Scott's group had taken refuge in a storage area after their firefight with the Purity Path agents. General Kraz was wounded but still standing, one arm hanging useless at his side. The Vorchan do not die easily, he said when Noah tried to treat his injury. Save your supplies for those who need them more. Jack's tour approached Scott. Commander, your people fight to protect us, even after all the Council did. Why? Scott checked his weapons charge. Because that's what humans do. We might walk away when treated unfairly, but we don't leave people to die, even former enemies. This is why you were never truly understood by the Council, Jack's tour said quietly. Your capacity for both independence and cooperation confused them. A call came through on Scott's communication device. Commander, this is Dr. Tarn. We've managed to stabilize a path to the evacuation pods, but we need to move quickly. The station's structure is becoming unstable. Copy that, Scott replied. We're moving now. He turned to the group. Stay close. No one gets left behind. Intelligence Officer Grace Williams worked in a secure room on Earth, analyzing the data streaming in from Proxima Station. The information Dr. Tarn had provided revealed extensive infiltration by Purity Path. They have members in 12 of the 17 Council species governments, she told Secretary Walsh over a secure line. And they've been building this movement for years. Can we identify the leadership? Walsh asked. Yes, Grace confirmed. Dr. Tarn provided names and positions. The most shocking is High Counselor Drex, supposedly one of our strongest advocates on the Council. Walsh was silent for a moment. Prepare a full briefing. If we survive this crisis, we'll need to know who can be trusted. There's more, Grace added. The moderate Council members are already requesting asylum. They believe their governments may fall to Purity Path control. How many? Representatives from 5 species so far, including Jack's tour's entire family. Walsh sighed. The board won't like it, but prepare for their arrival. And notify Admiral Rogers that rescue operations take priority over military engagement. Back on Proxima Station, the separate groups finally converged at the evacuation area. Lisa and Jack arrived through an emergency hatch, covered in soot but unharmed. Status report, Jack demanded as Scott's team joined them. The Defiant has cleared an escape corridor with the Vorchan ships, Scott replied. We can launch the pods now. Noah and Dr. Tarn arrived last, carrying damaged equipment. We've downloaded all the station data, No reported, including evidence of everything the Council did to human colonies. As they boarded the evacuation pods, Lisa found herself seated beside Jack's tour. The alien looked at her with large, sorrowful eyes. "When we return to Earth," he said quietly, "I wish to formally request protection for my people. The moderates in the Council will not survive what comes next without human help." Lisa studied him for a moment. "Once, you wouldn't even let humans speak in Council meetings. Now you ask for our protection." "Yes," Jacques Tour said simply. "We have learned humility. The question is whether humans have learned mercy." The pods launched, streaking away from the dying station toward the waiting ships. 2 weeks after the battle at Proxima Station, a joint human-alien task force prepared to enter the Council Assembly on Century Prime. Commander Scott studied the holographic map of the Grand Assembly Hall, where the Purity Path leaders would soon gather. "The security will be heavy," he told his team. "But we have one advantage they don't expect." Beside him stood agents from 5 different Council species, all moderates who had chosen to side with humanity. Among them was a cousin of Jacques Tour who worked in Council security. "Once we're inside," Scott continued, "Dr. Tarn and Engineer Carter will activate the device. Remember, we need proof of the conspiracy before the full assembly." The team moved through the underground passages beneath the Council Capitol. These ancient tunnels had been forgotten by most, but Jacques Tour's cousin had provided access codes. "In position," Scott reported through his secure communicator. "Copy that," came Lisa's voice. "Ambassador Reeves is ready to address the Council when you give the signal." Above ground, Lisa Reeves prepared to enter the Council chamber for the first time in 3 years. She wore formal diplomatic attire, looking every bit the senior ambassador despite the tension visible in her eyes. "Are you sure about this?" Jack asked beside her. "Once you enter, we can't guarantee your safety." "No," Lisa admitted, "but diplomatic solutions require risk. The evidence we have must be presented directly to all Council species simultaneously." Jack nodded. "The U.S. Defiant is in orbit with Captain Miller. At the first sign of trouble, they'll extract you." Lisa straightened her jacket. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." In a small room near the main assembly hall, Noah Carter and Dr. Tarn made final adjustments to a device that looked like an ordinary translation unit. "Will it work?" Noah asked, connecting the last circuit. Dr. Tarn nodded. "The frequency will disrupt the advanced weapons the Purity Path agents carry. They use specific quantum signatures that my people developed based on stolen human designs." "Ironic," Noah said. "Their hatred of humans led them to use modified human technology. A fact they would rather die than admit," Dr. Tarn replied. High Counselor Drex called the emergency session to order. Representatives from all 17 Council species filled the Great Hall, their voices creating a buzz of nervous energy. "We gather today to address the human threat," Drex announced, his tall, thin frame dominating the central platform. "Recent events at Proxima Station prove they cannot be trusted." Lisa Reeves walked into the chamber, causing immediate silence. According to protocol, no human should have been able to enter without invitation. "The Council recognizes no human representative," Drex said coldly. "I come not as a representative," Lisa replied, her voice carrying through the hall, "but as a witness." Before Drex could respond, the doors opened again. Secretary Walsh entered with a full diplomatic corps and security detail. Among them were General Kraz and Jacques Tour. "What is the meaning of this?" Drex demanded, his composure slipping. "Truth," Jacques Tour said simply. Lisa activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. "For too long, a faction within the Council has worked to sabotage human Council relations. They call themselves Purity Path. Data streams and images fill the air above the Council members. Evidence of sabotage colonies, records of secret meetings, lists of agents within the Council. This is nonsense," Drex sputtered. "Guards, remove these humans." Council security moved forward, but stopped when their weapons failed to activate. From hidden positions, Commander Scott's team emerged, surrounding the chamber. At the same moment, Noah and Dr. Tarn activated their device, rendering the advanced weapons useless. The full evidence has already been transmitted to all Council member worlds, Lisa announced, including the attack on Proxima Station and the plot to seize human technology by force. High Counselor Drex reached for a hidden device in his robes. You understand nothing. Without human technology, the Council species will fall into darkness. We had no choice. There is always a choice, Lisa replied. You chose domination instead of cooperation. Above the planet, the human fleet decloaked, revealing its true size and strength for the first time. On screens throughout the chamber, Council representatives watched in shock. The humans had never been defenseless. They had simply been patient. 6 months after the events at Centauri Prime, Jack Morris stood at the observation deck of the newly built Unity Station. Below him, ships from 12 different species moved in orderly patterns, carrying goods, people, and ideas between worlds. Human vessels were easy to spot among them. Clean lines, efficient designs, and notably larger cargo holds. Quite a view, Lisa Reeves said as she joined him. Hard to believe this was all empty space a few months ago. Jack nodded. The interstellar cooperative is growing faster than anyone predicted. The old Galactic Council was gone, replaced by a new organization where humans held equal standing with other species. The Purity Path leaders, including High Counselor Drex, now awaited trial for crimes against sentient beings. How are the technology transfers going? Lisa asked. Carefully, Jack replied. Secretary Walsh insists on strict oversight. We're helping with the gravity generators and life support systems first. Military tech stays firmly in human hands for now. Lisa smiled. Trust but verify. Always. A soft chime announced an incoming message. Admiral Rogers appeared on the nearby screen. The joint defense exercise was a success, he reported. The Vorchin ships integrated well with our patrol patterns. And the other species? Jack asked. Learning quickly. General Kraz is an excellent coordinator. The Admiral paused. The border incidents have dropped by 60% since we established the joint patrols. After the transmission ended, Lisa and Jack walked to the conference room, where the day's meetings would begin. Representatives from all member species waited inside, including Jack's tour and Dr. Tarn. The colony restoration projects are proceeding on schedule, Noah Carter was explaining as they entered. He pointed to holographic displays showing construction on 3 former Council worlds where infrastructure had begun to collapse. The new power systems will be fully operational within 2 months. Dr. Tarn added, and the knowledge transfer program has exceeded expectations. My students are already applying human innovation methods to long-standing problems. As the meeting continued, Captain Frank Miller arrived with his executive officer. The U.S. Defiant had just returned from a deep space mission, the first of the new Unity-class vessels with mixed-species crews. The frontier survey is complete, Frank reported. We've identified 3 systems suitable for new colonies. He glanced at his executive officer, a young Vorchin named Krell. My XO deserves credit for the efficient mapping technique we developed. Krell ducked his head modestly. It was a human-Vorchin collaboration. Sir. After the meeting, the various representatives departed for their next assignments. Only Lisa, Jack, and Jack's tour remained in the conference room. There is still resistance, Jack's tour admitted. Some believe we gave up too much independence to humans. And some humans think we should have left the Council species to their fate, Jack replied. Change is never easy. Lisa gathered her datapad. Speaking of change, the memorial ceremony at Proxima begins in an hour. Together, they travel to what remained of Proxima Station. The damaged structure had been reinforced and preserved rather than dismantled. Now it orbited as a silent reminder of both conflict and cooperation. Representatives from all species gathered in the rebuilt central chamber, where once battle had raged. Now stood a simple monument listing the names of those lost on all sides. Admiral Rogers spoke briefly. From this place of destruction, we begin a new journey together. As the ceremony concluded, Jack found himself standing beside a young ensign from Earth. "Sir," the ensign asked, "do you think it will last? This cooperation between species so different from each other?" Jack looked around at the gathering. Former enemies now working side by side, sharing knowledge and resources that benefited all. "It won't be easy," he said honestly. "There will be setbacks and disagreements. But yes, I believe it will last, because we've all learned an important lesson." "What's that, sir?" Jack smiled slightly. "That walking away can sometimes be the first step toward a better path forward." In the viewport beyond them, Earth shone blue and welcoming, no longer separated from the galaxy, but now at its center in ways the old council could never have imagined.